Welcome to the Runtime Error, the place where programming begins. I hope you are enjoying the string playlist. Today we come across a third part and we will be dealing with some inbuilt functions of strings. So without any wasting time, let's get started. So the first inbuilt function we come across is nothing but push back, right? So many of us has already heard this in called vector, right? Because we have already dealt this inbuilt function in the vector. Now what does this pushback do in a string? Let's see. Say for example I have my string, say for example s, and I have x, y and z, three characters, and now what I need to do is I want to insert m at the end. So what I will do is yes dot pushback. I will simply write it as em. So what will be my output? My output will be simply as x, y, z and em, because this em is inserted with the help of this. So can I say pushback used to insert character at end of my string, right? By name itself says that pushback, it is inserting the value at the end of my string. That's the reason why it is called as a pushback, right? I hope you understand this first inbuilt function called as a pushback. Now let's take the second inbuilt function, that is called as a popback. Second one is called as a popback. Now again we have seen this in vector. Now what does this do is, let's check. Say for example I have my string yes equals to runtime, right? Yes is equals to my runtime, and what I need to do is I need to delete this e, right? This e I want to delete. So what I will do is I will simply write it yes dot popback. Now here I don't need to pass any kind of parameter, because the popback itself says that I simply need to delete my last character. So what will be the output after the first popback? It will simply contain as run tim, because e has deleted, right? Now again say for example I call yes dot popback. Now what it will contain? It will simply contain as runti, because m has deleted and here e has deleted, right? So popback simply removes last character, right? I hope you understood second inbuilt function. Now let's move on to the third inbuilt function, that is called as size. The name itself suggests that it simply tells us what is the size of my string, right? Now say for example my string is of called as a runtime, right? Now if I called it as cout s dot size, now what will be my output? It will contain as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So my output will be 7. So simply size returns the size of my string. So size simply returns the size of the string. So what is the syntax of it? Simply write it as string name and write it as size. It will simply give the size of my string, right? Size of my string. That's the easy one. This is the most easiest inbuilt function. And the fourth is, this is called as an empty. So what does it say? That it simply returns true if my string is empty, right? If my string is empty, it simply returns as true. Otherwise it returns false if my string is not empty, right? This is easiest one. Say for example if I have my string yes and it don't have any character, and if I write it as yes dot empty, it simply written as true. Now say for example I have s is equals to runtime, and now if I want to print s dot empty, it will simply return as false, because my string contains a kind of a text which is held by variable called as yes, but here we don't have any value inside my string. That's the reason why my string is considered as empty, but it contains some value, therefore it returns the false, because my string is not empty. Here my string is empty, so it returns true. right? So these are the basic inbuilt functions. Now let's take some of the advanced inbuilt functions. Let's change color. Now we will be using the first advanced function, that is called as an append. So it would be of fifth number, right? Append. So name itself suggests as to put something at the end of my string, right? In pushback what we saw here is, we were able to put a single character. But what if I want to insert a whole string, right? I want to insert a whole string. Here we are able to insert a single character, but I want to insert string, say for example xyz, at the end of this xyz. Was it possible using the pushback? No, because the pushback was able to insert a single character, but here we want to insert a whole string. Hence, to deal with these problems, we come across a new inbuilt function called as an append. So what does append do is, it simply adds a string, I am talking about the string, not a character, at end of first string, right? So let's try to understand with this example. Say for example, I have my string first. I will be calling it s1, which contains a runtime, right? Now what I need to do is, I want to insert error at the end of this string, So how will I do it? I will simply add s1 dot append, and inside the double quote, what I will write, I will simply write it as error. So what will be the output? Output will be runtime error. So this will be my output, because what does this append help us to do is, it has appended error at the end of my current string, right? Let's take one more example. Say for example, I have my string first, s1 is equal to apple, and I have the string second, s2 is equals to, say for example, iPhone, right? Now what I need to do is, I need to append iPhone at the end of my apple. So what I will do is s1 dot append, I will pass it as s2. So what it will give us, it will simply give us as apple iPhone. Even I can do in reverse fashion, I can insert apple at the end of my iPhone as well. So for that purpose, what I need to do is, I need to simply do is s2 dot append as s1. So what would be output? It will contain as iPhone apple, right? I hope you understood this append inbuilt function. It's really easy. It simply insert a string at the end of one string. At the end of s1 we inserted iPhone, and we also inserted apple at the end of my iPhone as well. So this is the most easiest way to deal with. Now let's take one more, that is called find, right? This is the most interesting inbuilt function, I would say, that is called as a find. So what does it find is, it simply finds first occurrence of my given string, finds first occurrence of given substring, right? Say for example, I have string str equals to runtime. Now I want to check, is there any substring which contain un. I need to check, does this substring lies inside this string? So what I will do is, I will simply write it as string, say for example s, and what I will do is str dot find un. Now this returns two things. If not found, means the substring which I am looking for is not present, and the second one, it is found, right? So what it will return when my substring is not found? It returns string colon npos. So this is nothing but not possible. Whenever we come across string colon npos, it simply means that the substring which we are looking for is not present inside my original string. And whenever we got the substring inside the original string, it simply returns the current starting index of that substring. So what would be the substring? So 0 1, so it will return as 1. So from 1 we need to consider till here un, till the, we don't know the end. How will you find the end? We will find the end with the help of the size of my substring. So size of my substring is true 2. So from this position I need to move 2 characters, that is 1 and 2. So un is present over this side. I hope you got me. So this is the str find. It's simply used to find is my original string contains a given substring. If my original string does not contain a substring, it will simply return as string and pause. It simply says that the string not found. And if it is found, it simply returns the starting index. What does it return? Starting index. I hope you find this inbuilt function clearly and precisely. Right, now let's take second. So one more inbuilt function that is called as a reverse. It's simply used to reverse my string. Right? The name itself says that reverse. Say for example, I have my string. Yes, which is equals to error, and I want to reverse it as RORRE. So how can I reverse it? There are many ways, but here we are trying to see the inbuilt functions. So before we see the inbuilt function called as a reverse, we will check 2 important things, that is called as a begin, and second one is called as a end. So what does begin says that begin points to the first letter of my string, that is it will be pointing to A, and my end will be pointing my end of my string, not to my end last character, but it will be pointing beyond my last character, that is at null pointer, right, beyond my last pointer. So how can I reverse this string? So simply what I will do is I will simply write a keyword reverse in bracket yes.begin, because I need to move from start, that is from E, comma yes.end, that is I need to go till my end. So I simply need to reverse whole my string. So my output will be RORRE. I hope you understood this inbuilt function too. So in this video we saw a numerous inbuilt function. So first one we saw the push back. Here we inserted a single character. Second we saw a pop back where we deleted last character. Then we saw the size, which simply tells you the size of my string. Then we saw empty. It simply returns true if my string is empty. If not empty, it simply returns false. Then we saw the append, which is the most important part, which is used to append the string at the end of one string. Then we saw a reverse, which is mainly used to reverse my string. Here I have shown you. And then we saw a find, which simply used to check whether my original string contains a given substring or not. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you liked the video, do subscribe to the channel. Until then, have a happy coding.